Hi, welcome to another video. In this video I'll be playing the old and in my opinion the best version of hexxit. I would say that I'll be surviving for 50 days, but I already failed that, so I'll just play for 50 Minecraft days while showing most of the footage, but sped up just to add a sprinkle of originality to it. And of course I'll be narrating it along the way. Enjoy! Okay, so day 1. For those who don't know this modpack, I'll talk about it briefly. This action-focused adventure modpack, made for Minecraft 1.5.2. It introduces quite a lot of methods to shorten the grinding parts of the game. Like if you try to cut down a tree with an axe, it will fall out instantly, dropping all its wood and saplings. Or if you want to mine diamonds, you don't need to go deep because all ores can be found on surface level. This modpack also features a minimap and tons of dungeons and a colossal amount of equipment. In my opinion, the best starter kit is made from your average stone tools plus a pair of stone giant swords because they beat all the other easily acquirable modded weapons, both in damage and in usability. Its only downside is that it breaks quickly, but on the plus side it can block almost all sorts of damage by holding right click, thus blocking. Since I acquired my starting equipment, I left to find a dungeon. Along the way I found some chocobos, but I didn't have a saddle or ladder to make one, so I had to leave them for now. As you can see, along my journey I kept harvesting that blue grass looking plant, and the reason behind it is that they drop arrows, emerald shards and HP as well, making some unique sounds while getting picked up. Mobs also drop hearts and emerald shards, producing the same sound effect. I found some piggies which I slayed for food before exploring the empty ruin nearby. Since the pork chop was taking forever to fry, I cut down some more trees. I acquired more pork chop, even finding a dancing pig. What a rare sight. As you could see, I left some diamonds over there, but I hadn't had the patience to mine them out and I didn't need them that much anyways. Now it was time for the exploration to really begin. I climbed down that mountain, getting through a mini desert, and cutting myself into a jungle. The last thing I hoped to find was a casual jungle temple, but I wasn't going to let any potential loot behind. I quickly looted both chests, then scavenged the map for structures nearby, but there wasn't any. I had to dig up, then made my way to the other end of the jungle. In the end, I found myself at the edge of a plains biome, in which laid a totally empty wooden house. Oh well. As I made myself through the grassland, I slayed everything I deemed worth slaying, except for sheep, because I didn't feel like sleeping, and they don't drop meat at this version of the game. From all the leather I gained from killing cows, I made 2 backpacks, using nearby flowers for coloring. These backpacks were quite useful, since they had enough space to hold an entire chest inside them. After throwing out the junk from my inventory, I went on. As I continued my journey, I found an upgraded zombie. These upgraded mobs usually have a few extra abilities and extra health, but they are worth slaying because they always drop something valuable. And then, I spotted a dungeon, housing armored skeletons and a lot of sweet loot. Usually I prefer smaller dungeons to kick things off, but luckily I didn't struggle much yet. As I went on, I started finding more and more chests and more gear in them. Here were a lot of mods, but luckily I didn't struggle too much with them. Even though I made an iron sword, I still wanted to spare it for now. My good old stone sword was good enough to carry me through the horde of mods which I was about to face. What a duel. I put the gold bars on the left one, but once he lost, I killed the winner and took the gold. I was certain that the boss was awaiting my arrival to the top, but I was wrong. It either despawned, or it never even spawned to begin with. But since his loot was there, I wasn't too bothered with his disappearance. In one of the chests, I found an electric staff. Oh, a shooting star. Where was I? Ah yes, this stuff is amazing, because it grants its user the ability to fly, as you can see. Off we go. This way, I could find dungeons faster than ever, like this treehouse. Next up, I visited this stone tower featuring upgraded mobs and a reasonable amount of loot. This dungeon only demanded effort because of the sheer number of mobs inside. I was quickly advancing through the floors of the tower, collecting essences, and even gaining an Ender Giant sword from that empowered fighter. These essences which I'm hoarding into my backpack are used to create all kinds of staffs, just like my handy electric staff. Then I arrived to the last normal floor. It's the well-known characteristic of this dungeon that the chest on this floor can be opened normally before defeating the boss from the uppermost floor. A way around this is to break the chest, which triggers the boss, making an explosion, also blowing up the chest from upstairs. The best of the loot can be found here, and after picking it up, I quickly defeated the boss, which usually drops a few diamonds. After that I quickly left, before the tower could blow up into my face. Then I screwed around for a bit, trying to find out how the special abilities of the shields work. I managed to find a village, which I quickly looted before heading off to find another dungeon. Well, I didn't manage to find a real dungeon, but at least I bumped into a desert temple with some casual loot. I knew that pyramids usually don't contain good loot, so I checked the map where I found a cool floating island, but first, I still decided to check a chest from the pyramid. After confirming the unworthiness of the pyramid, I took off. I first went for another tower to gain powerful enough equipment for the island. I quickly went through the floors, breaking spawners and looting chests. The loot so far wasn't the same, because last time I got good stuff from the upgraded mobs, of which wasn't as much here. This time around I saved the uppermost chest from the explosion by breaking it first. I simply killed the boss, then ran down to the last chest. And then I watched as the tower crumbled into itself. I've decided to settle down for a little bit to sort out my backpacks and to make a big backpack, and just generally get ready for that floating island. Of course, while I was busy, a creeper came, but luckily I managed to kill it. Surprisingly, it took quite long sorting everything out. Finally, I was ready and well equipped to take down that island. Firstly, I ran into some leather and chainmail armored skeletons, which were easy to kill. I managed to find a gilded living metal shield, which is one of the best shields in the game, and it can only be obtained from chests. Usually, living metal gear ranks one step above diamond, and it is just as much damage as an ender sword. And that's what I call some heavy lag. As I went on, I managed to get a few kills on the boss before getting spawned by skeletons. The boss alone was thought to be compared to the skeletons, so I slayed him, or maybe her, it's hard to tell to be honest, quite easily. It dropped its skeleton summoning staff, about which I was quite happy. Going on, I cleared the next floor with ease. The loot so far wasn't the best for a dungeon this big, but I knew that the good stuff are usually on the top. But then, I found some amazing boots. These boots grant its user the ability to run faster, which can come in handy a lot. On the top of the island, I quickly realized that the never-ending waves of creepers did more to the test than the usual skeleton guards ever could. There were explosions left and right. I finally arrived to a safe spot filled with loot. There, I found everything I could ask for: fun gadgets, and a cleaver. Luckily, as I was busy looting, the sun came up, so I didn't have to deal with the mobs spawning all around the island. I quickly gathered the loot which remained, then headed downward. One of the mobs down there put the wither effect on, so I didn't realize how much damage I was taking before it was too late.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
And there went most of my precious belongings, also marking the run as no longer a survival for 50 days, but more like surviving for 5 days in Minecraft hexxit. But at the same time, in these 5 days, I did more than some people claiming to survive for 100 days, making their authenticity more than questionable. As you can see, I got some of my stuff back, but I also wanted revenge, which caused my downfall. Once I respawned, after about 100 blocks, I realized that in the night I had no chance of getting back alive, so I chose a shortcut. This shortcut was another dimension filled with some basic loot and traps. Since I had no luck so far in the dungeon, I decided to hop out of there before I die. And then, stupid me got hunted down by a skeleton. Next up, I made myself a wooden sword, then ran towards the island hoping to find some of my stuff still intact. On the way there, I stopped at the looted tower and took everything I deemed useful. Finally, I was back in the island, fought through some mobs until I found a zombie which took my gear. I fought painstakingly relieved to see the remnants. When I finally killed it, it didn't drop anything. Yep, in this version of Minecraft, you aren't guaranteed to get yourself back from mobs. As a last attempt, I tried getting to the surface for some leftover loot. But I failed. Again. Now, I was sure that I left nothing in the island worth going back for, so I started all over. I made a stone pickaxe, and just as I was collecting stone for tools, I found diamonds. Of course, which I couldn't mine out. I wasn't so bothered though, since I knew that stone tools are enough for most dungeons. Once I finally got ready, I headed towards the snowy biome, because usually that's where most enormous structures generate. On my way, I found a few cows hanging around, which I happily slayed for their meat and leather. While I was rampaging through the cows, I even found some gravelled iron. In terms of gravity, it acts like gravel, but otherwise, it's the same as any iron ore. And now I was ready to... I went for the nearest underground tower to get some gear. I advanced very carefully, breaking the spawners before entering new floors. Of course, there wasn't much loot down here, but I still got a few iron ingots here and there. Slowly but surely, I acquired enough iron ingots to craft equipment. I finally got out to the good stuff. But I got so much into looting that I forgot which level was I on, and summoned the boss through death. I almost certainly would have died, not for the enchanted golden apple prepared from the treasure chest. Now, from all that work, I had enough diamonds to craft a sword and armor. And I was minding my own business when a slime jumped down from a nearby floating slime island. These islands usually don't contain any loot, so unless you're looking for slime, it isn't worth visiting them. I've decided to leave the snowy biome and try my luck in the plains. I immediately found a weird looking immersion, the kind I have never seen before. So I dug into it and found a little mine-like dungeon. I looked around for a bit until I found the spawners and the mediocre loot next to them. Once done looting, I headed towards a nearby village. I took everything from the blacksmith, then went on. Next up, I found two underground dungeons which grew together, but the loot was mediocre and they were honestly quite boring, so I made a montage out of it. Enjoy! Now, I really wanted to find a big dungeon filled with loot to the brim, or at least find something interesting. I struggled getting through the rocky terrain, but got through eventually. I even found some surface level diamonds. Loads of them actually. And then I spotted a lava lake, so I've decided to show off my portal making skills and head to the nether. Perfection. The nether was boring as well, so I really had to speed it up. And just as that, I was back in the overworld. I figured it was time to test my luck in the seas. These old boats were harder to control than the boats we're familiar today, but I grew up playing 1.8, so I had no problem with it. Here wasn't much to explore, because big ships only spawned in the ocean. But I continued on anyways. Until I hit a swampy biome where I couldn't get around with the boat. While trying to get through, I even managed to break my boat. And finally, I found a nice and cozy savanna, with a big generating structure. This gave home to an army of goblins and a boss. The inside was looking quite empty, but there had to be loot somewhere. As I ventured deeper and deeper into this goblin cave, I found some traps, which of course was activated. And then, accidentally, I found a boss which sounded like an old Steve. This buggy mess of a boss was annoying to deal with, but I got through it with patience. It dropped its weapon and the grappling hook. I was quite happy with my findings, but I still wanted to explore the rest of the dungeon, just in case. I found some loot, but then I realized that it is trapped. Thankfully, I got out in time. Before leaving, I still had something to do, which was exploring the upper side of the dungeon. I left the dungeon well prepared for whatever might stand in my way at the following dungeon. It turned out to be another goblin-filled building. I was greeted by the same buggy boss, which I fought at the other castle. I cornered it, then spanned my sword against its shield.